All worlds begin with Demon Slayer. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 376, Defying the Heavens and Changing Fate. After receiving the horrific counterattack from the reaction force of the time barrier, Akaza was stunned in place, with disbelief written all over his face. Because Akaza didn't know if it would be possible for it to regenerate if the force just now completely destroyed it. After a long time of panic, Akaza slowly came back to his senses. However, this time it didn't dare to continue attacking the time barrier. Akaza also roughly figured out that this thing was not actively aggressive, it would only reflect attacks, so as long as Akaza didn't attack, it would be fine. Seeing that he couldn't destroy the time barrier, Akaza moved all the way to other directions, and then he found that the coverage of the time barrier was very large, and it seemed to cover the area where Kokushibo was. Because Akaza knew that Kokushibo was ambushing near this area, not because he still had the memory of meeting Kokushibo in his mind. Damn it. I was blocked outside by that little devil's magic. Akaza was really angry. In anger, he subconsciously stretched out his foot to kick the time barrier, but the kick missed. Then he staggered and almost fell. Akaza was stunned again because of the sudden kick. Then he reached out and touched it, and found that the barrier blocking his way had disappeared. Akaza walked in again, and found that it was indeed the case, so he was delighted. Soon, Akaza sensed the movement of fierce fighting in the distance, so he immediately rushed to the place where the battle took place at the fastest speed. The disappearance of the time barrier was naturally because Bai Yu had made time flow back to the time point he wanted, so the time barrier disappeared. After Bai Yu used the time hourglass, it immediately shattered into pieces, and the pieces immediately turned into ashes and completely dissipated. In order to rescue Rengoku Kyojuro, Bai Yu's divine weapon was used up. It is unknown whether there will be such item rewards in the next mission. Time flows back to the moment when Rengoku Kyojuro's Shengan Uzumaki was broken and started to work again. But Bai Yu had already blocked in front of Rengoku Kyojuro, ready to block the attack for Rengoku Kyojuro. Rengoku Kyojuro was also shocked by Bai Yu, who suddenly appeared in front of him, and Kokushibo was also shocked by Bai Yu, who suddenly blocked in front of Rengoku Kyojuro. Rengoku Kyojuro and Kokushibo didn't know when Bai Yu appeared. Why didn't they notice it at all? Bai Yu looked at Kokushibo's oncoming air blades with many high-speed rotating crescent blades, and immediately swung the demon slaying sword to destroy all those air blades. In the state of demonization, Bai Yu easily dispelled Kokushibo's long night lonely moon unbreakable. Until Kokushibo finished the whole set of attacks, it did not pose any threat to Bai Yu, and Bai Yu's figure did not even move. Kokushibo, who stopped attacking, immediately asked Bai Yu, "Who are you?" Just like the situation before time went back, Kokushibo was full of doubts about the demonized Bai Yu. "I'm the one who wants to kill you." Bai Yu still gave the same answer as before. "That's the enemy. But there are too many people who want to kill me, but they all died under my sword, and your fate will be the same as this." Because he did not confront Bai Yu head on, Kokushibo did not fear Bai Yu this time, but said very arrogantly. Chapter 377, A New Situation. As soon as the time barrier disappeared, Akaza quickly rushed to the place where Hakuba, Rengoku Kyojuro and Kokushibo were. When Kokushibo saw that Akaza actually came to him, he questioned Akaza. The questions he asked were the same as when time did not flow back, but the situation was completely different from before. Rengoku Kyojuro was not seriously injured and dying, but still had the ability to fight. "No, that kid is the monster standing in front of us now," Akaza replied. Hearing this, Kokushibo looked at Akuba, who had turned into a demon, and then cursed. "Waste. You can't even deal with a little brat. I think it's necessary to remove you from the list of upper ranks." Akaza was very unhappy when he heard what Kokushibo said, but he didn't dare to show it. "You are so awesome. How come the flame pillar is still alive and well?" Akaza couldn't help but secretly mock Kokushibo in his heart. Kokoshibo seemed to sense what Akaza was thinking, so he said with a gloomy face, if you hadn't failed to restrain that brat and gave him a chance to rescue, the flame pillar would have been dead by now. Kokoshibo's words made Akaza feel guilty, so he immediately explained, that brat was very strange. I don't know what method he used, but he actually blocked off an area. As a result, I was unable to chase him. Kokoshibo glanced at Akaza coldly. In his opinion, all the words of Akaza now were just incompetent excuses. Since you can't deal with this kid, then you go deal with the flame pillar. I want to see whether you are incompetent or the kid is really evil. Kokoshibo did not continue to hold Akaza responsible for his incompetence, because now is not the time to hold him accountable. The top priority now is to kill Bai Yu and Rengoku Kaijiro in front of him, and then clear out the other inferior members of the Demon Slayer Corps. On the other hand, Bai Yu, who used the time hourglass prop to save Rengoku Kaijiro, did not receive the system's task completion broadcast. This is obviously that the disaster in Rengoku Kaijiro's life has not been completely resolved, and the crisis still shrouds Rengoku Kaijiro. Brother Bai Yu, is that you? Rengoku Kaijiro asked Bai Yu, after he adjusted his breathing again. Because Bai Yu's current breath is very strange, plus the voice he spoke to Kokoshibo just now, and the current hair color and hair length, are not Bai Yu's original appearance. If the clothes and the sword on his waist were not Bai Yu's things, Rengoku Kaijiro would not have associated them with Bai Yu at all. It's me, but you'd better be prepared. I'm not the same as usual, Bai Yu said, and turned to look at Rengoku Kaijiro. After seeing Bai Yu's current appearance, Rengoku Kaijiro was shocked, and his face was replaced by fear. Now is not the time to be shocked. What about the others? Bai Yu did not care about Rengoku Kaijiro's shock, but asked back. Rengoku Kaijiro tried hard to suppress his shock, and then replied, they have all retreated, but they are being chased by the lower moon demon. Hearing this, Bai Yu was relieved. If they were chased by the lower moon demon, with Inosuke and Hattori Kyujo around, even if they couldn't escape, it would not be difficult to deal with it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 378, 2v2. What about Tanjiro? Rengoku Kaijiro couldn't help but care about Tanjiro, because Tanjiro was now his stepson, and Tanjiro was injured, so when Bai Yu came to him, he was worried about Tanjiro. After all, Akaza was not solved by Bai Yu, and it was impossible for Bai Yu to come to him according to common sense. Bai Yu would come to support him, which really made Rengoku Kaijiro very confused. Tanjiro and Zenitsu retreated with the passengers on the train. You have been delayed here for too long. I think something might have happened, so I rushed over to take a look. Bai Yu also briefly explained the situation. After listening to Bai Yu's explanation, Rengoku Kaijiro felt relieved. In this way, everything could be explained. While Bai Yu and Rengoku Kaijiro were talking, Kokoshibo and Akaza had already finished their conversation. The two ghosts did not give Bai Yu and Rengoku Kaijiro a chance to continue talking, and they shot directly at Bai Yu and Rengoku Kaijiro. This time, Kokoshibo and Akaza were ready to use all their strength to deal with Bai Yu and Rengoku Kaijiro. Bai Yu and Rengoku Kaijiro also stopped talking immediately and drew their swords to meet them. The two sides immediately wrestled together, but this time the battle was much more violent than before. The four energies together set off a huge shockwave, and the ground around the four people showed a lot of cracks and slight collapses, and even the calm lake behind them was hit by huge waves. Breathing of the moon, landform, long night lonely moon unlimited. Breathing destruction style. Breathing of flame, 5 form, flame tiger. Breathing of devil god, demon slashing continuous slash. Bai Yu activated the devil god transformation, so he could only use the power of devil god to simulate the move of breathing of water, 1 form reformed, water surface slashing continuous slash. With the blessing of the power of devil god, Bai Yu's attack has the characteristics of erosion, which is a nightmare for devil. Rengoku Kaijiro, who was the first to be unable to withstand such an impact, spurted out a mouthful of blood from his mouth. Bai Yu saw that Rengoku Kaijiro could not withstand such a strong attack, so he immediately swung the demon slashing sword towards Akaza's hand and chopped off Akaza's arm with one knife. It was also because of this that Kokushibo seized this opportunity and launched a killing move against Bai Yu. Kokushibo jumped up instantly, and the blade of the demon sword in his hand suddenly became much longer, and many secondary blades grew on the blade, like branches of a tree trunk. Breath of the Moon, Form 8, Moon Dragon Tail Swinging. Breath of the Moon, Form 8, Moon Dragon Tail Swinging. Kokushibo evolved the demon sword in his hand and sent out a huge horizontal wave with a huge range and power, sweeping everything in front of it, like a dragon suddenly swinging its tail. Kokushibo's attack was aimed at Bai Yu's neck. With the sudden swing of the blade, a huge purple crescent blade swept over. The blade first cut off Akaza's head and then swept towards Bai Yu and Rengoku Kaijiro. Judging from Akaza being affected, Kokushibo didn't care whether this attack would hurt his own people. Get down! Bai Yu immediately shouted to Rengoku Kaijiro. Then Bai Yu covered his whole body with the power of demons and gods, and then Bai Yu wanted to use his palm to grab the huge purple crescent blade that swept over. Chapter 379. A shocking scene. Rengoku Kaijiro could feel the power of Kokushibo's attack, which was definitely not something he could block. For such a terrifying attack, the only thing he could do was to dodge as much as possible. As Bai Yu finished speaking, Rengoku Kaijiro had already fallen to the ground. Rengoku Kaijiro originally thought that Bai Yu would lie down like him, but he didn't expect that Bai Yu didn't lie down, but used his body and hands to block Kokushibo's fatal blow. Rengoku Kaijiro looked at it with his eyes wide open and saw that the huge purple crescent blade was immediately caught by Bai Yu, and then Bai Yu's figure suddenly shook and he couldn't help but slide back a short distance. In fact, the huge purple crescent blade was produced by Kokushibo's swinging blade, so in fact, Bai Yu actually held Kokushibo's evolved ghost sword. Bai Yu took this blow hard, and his body was actually under great pressure. If it weren't for the sufficient strength of the demonized body, Bai Yu's behavior would undoubtedly be a suicidal act. Bai Yu was furious, and the sharp teeth on his mouth were exposed, making him look even more creepy. At the same time, the black air overflowing from Bai Yu's body became extremely strong. Those black air were actually the power of ghosts and gods burning in Bai Yu's body. The attack was blocked, and a look of astonishment appeared on Kokushibo's face. If the attack was dodged by Bai Yu, Kokushibo would not be so surprised, but it was blocked abruptly, which was really terrifying. Although the attack was blocked by Bai Yu, the power of Kokushibo's moon dragon's tail swing was too great. Bai Yu could not absorb all of Kokushibo's attacks through himself. Bai Yu's body blocked only 50% of the damage, and the remaining 50% passed through Bai Yu's body and continued to spread behind Bai Yu. When all the damage outside the moon dragon was released, the trees around Bai Yu were cut off and collapsed. Akaza's head fell to the ground and saw the whole process of Bai Yu blocking the tail swing of the Black Death Mazuki dragon. The expression on his face was also shocked. However, after thinking about it, Akaza felt that this was also good. In this way, it proved that it was not his own incompetence, but that Bai Yu was too abnormal. Because Akaza's head was not beheaded by the Sun Wheel Sword or Bai Yu's demon slashing sword, Akaza would not die from it. However, what Akaza could not understand was that his arm was cut off by Bai Yu. Akaza found that his arm seemed to be eroded by some force, and this force made Akaza feel the pain that he could not feel before. Akaza tried to regenerate the broken arm, but the broken arm did not respond at all. Akaza knew that it was because of the power in the body. At the same time, Akaza also felt that the power seemed to be spreading to the whole body little by little. No matter how hard Akaza tried, he couldn't erase the power from his body. This was different from the previous situation, which simply suppressed the ability to regenerate and recover, but now it completely made its ability ineffective. In horror, Akaza found that his head was not eroded by the power, because at the first moment, Kokushibo's attack fell and cut off his head. Therefore, Akaza's head lost contact with the body and became two parts. Chapter 380, Flame Dragon Spinning Slash. Therefore, without knowing it, Kokushibo helped Akaza escape. In this case, Akaza knew that the body was obviously useless. Thinking of this, Akaza did not plan to heal his head back to the body, but regenerated a body with his head. After regenerating a new body, although the abandoned body lost the ability to regenerate, it was still under the control of Akaza. Akaza controlled the headless and armless body, and attacked Rengoku Kyojuro. Because Bai Yu was fighting against Kokushibo, he was temporarily unable to support Rengoku Kyojuro. However, when Bai Yu saw that Akaza gave up his original body, Bai Yu quickly thought of the reason, so he said to Rengoku Kyojuro, the headless body no longer has the ability to regenerate and recover. Cutting off its limbs will make it lose its mobility. Rengoku Kyojuro immediately rolled over and stood up again from the ground. He did not understand Bai Yu's words for a while. However, Akaza and its other body had already surrounded Rengoku Kyojuro and attacked him at the same time. Kick style, flowing lights. Because the other body only had one left hand, Akaza used kicks instead of punches. Kick style, flowing lights. Akaza used one foot to kick a certain place several times like lightning. Each kick was like a flash of lightning, interfering with the target's vision while attacking the target. Flame breathing, line type, flame dragon spin slash. Flame breathing, line type, flame dragon spin slash. The user of flame breathing can spin himself and swing a charged slash. When the slash is swung, a blazing flame will appear on the blade. The flame will form a fire dragon that quickly coils around the body, causing damage to the enemies around him. As soon as the flame dragon spinning slash was launched, a huge fire dragon coiled around Rengoku Kyojuro, just like Rengoku Kyojuro's guardian beast. The fire dragon coiled along with Rengoku Kyojuro's own rotation and the path of his sword swing. Because the power of shattering kick style, flowing flash group light was not as strong as shattering annihilation style, Rengoku Kyojuro was not overwhelmed by it. In addition, Rengoku Kyojuro's flame breathing, line type, flame dragon spinning slash was stronger than Akaza's shattering kick style, flowing flash group light, just like shattering annihilation style was stronger than flame breathing, 5 type, flame tiger. Therefore, Rengoku Kyojuro used flame dragon spinning slash to cut off Akaza's leg used for attack. As soon as Akaza's leg was cut off, he distanced himself from Rengoku Kyojuro and regenerated his broken leg at the same time. At this point, Akaza was more certain of the fact that Hakuba could suppress the regeneration and recovery ability of the demons and even make them ineffective. Akaza could not help but start to be afraid of Hakuba. You know, Akaza was afraid of Muzan Kibutsuji and no one else, not even the leader of the Upper Moons, Kokushibo. Seeing Akaza's headed body running away, Rengoku Kyojuro could only attack the headless body first and immediately cut it into pieces with his knife. Chapter 381 Angry Kokushibo. While Rengoku Kyojuro and Akaza were fighting, Bai Yu was also playing a power game with Kokushibo. Kokushibo wanted to pull back his demon sword, but the extremely long blade was tightly grasped by Bai Yu in both hands. No matter what method Kokushibo used, he still couldn't get his demon sword back. Bai Yu saw that Kokushibo was holding on so tightly and refused to let go, so Bai Yu grabbed the end of the blade and swung it towards the ground like a hammer. Kokushibo was like a nail stuck in a hammer and was knocked directly into the ground by Bai Yu, leaving only half of his body exposed. Although such an attack did not have much effect on Kokushibo, Kokushibo felt that he had been greatly insulted. When Bai Yu still wanted to play with him like a little mouse, Kokushibo immediately took the initiative to break his demon sword and then slapped the ground with his palm, shaking himself out of the ground. Bai Yu saw that the blade was broken by Kokushibo himself, so he also broke the blade in his hand into 2 parts and then threw it to the ground. Kokushibo looked at Bai Yu with 6 eyes full of incomparable anger. This was the first time it was so angry after becoming a ghost. The broken ghost sword in Kokushibo's hand, the broken end of the blade grew back, as if it had life. This ghost sword was made of Kokushibo's flesh and blood, and the blade was covered with many eyes, which was extremely weird. So even if the ghost sword was shattered, Kokushibo could still use his flesh and blood to forge a new one. You are indeed very powerful, but this time, you will no longer have the possibility of living. Kokushibo rarely expressed affirmation to Bai Yu. Breathing of the Moon, Form 14. Fierce transformation Skyfall Slim Moon. Breathing of the Moon, Form 14. Fierce transformation Skyfall Slim Moon. This move is an enhanced advanced move of Moon Dragon tail swinging, with even more terrifying power and destructive power, and a very large attack range. All life within the attack range will be killed. Kokushibo wielded the evolved demon sword, waving it wildly around, and released countless huge crescent blades, which would sweep away everything around, and wipe out all life around. The maximum attack range is a circular area with Kokushibo as the center and a radius of 30 meters. Seeing Kokushibo use this move, Akaza's face also changed, but he did not choose to escape from Kokushibo's attack range immediately, but planned to hold Ringoku Kyojuro, so that Ringoku Kyojuro would lose the chance to escape, and then be cut into pieces by Kokushibo's attack. Although doing so would still result in Akaza's fate, Akaza is a demon, and can survive with his powerful regeneration recovery. But Ringoku Kyojuro couldn't do that. This was a very good opportunity to kill him. As for Bai Yu, Akaza felt that Bai Yu was too weird, so he didn't want to pay attention to him easily. Although Ringoku Kyojuro didn't know what kind of attack Kokushibo was going to launch, he felt a very dangerous aura with his perception. Ringoku Kyojuro's instinct told him that he had to run. The farther the better. Driven by instinct, Ringoku Kyojuro reminded Bai Yu, run. As he said that, Ringoku Kyojuro had already moved, but Akaza had also moved and stopped Ringoku Kyojuro in an instant. Chapter 382 Tactical Retreat. Want to run? Unfortunately, you have no chance. Akaza said coldly to Ringoku Kyojuro. Ringoku Kyojuro knew Akaza's plan. This guy wanted to hold him back by relying on his powerful regeneration. As he said that, Akaza immediately attacked Ringoku Kyojuro. Destroy the demon's lair. Destroy the demon's lair. Akaza launched 8 consecutive attacks from all directions at the same place. Akaza shuttled around Ringoku Kyojuro as fast as lightning and launched 8 consecutive attacks on Ringoku Kyojuro, but at the same time, Bai Yu had used the stealth skill to sneak into the ground, and Kokushibo's attack had also been released. Countless huge crescent blades had swept over, bringing a huge hurricane. When Akaza attacked Ringoku Kyojuro, Bai Yu, who was lurking underground, predicted Akaza's movement trajectory. When Akaza was about to attack Ringoku Kyojuro for the 4th time, he stretched out his hands from the ground, grabbed Akaza's legs tightly, and pulled him down into the water. Because this skill was acquired by Bai Yu from the water ghost a long time ago, the stealth space is in a water-filled environment. As soon as Akaza was pulled into the water, he saw the hideous Bai Yu in the water and his eyes flashing purple light, and he was immediately panicked and scared. If this fell into Bai Yu's hands, Akaza felt that he would most likely die in Bai Yu's hands. Akaza tore off his legs without thinking, and immediately jumped out of Bai Yu's stealth space. Seeing that Akaza was not successfully caught in the water, Bai Yu did not continue to entangle with him, but dived underground again, and then pulled Ringoku Kyojuro into the stealth space. As soon as Ringoku Kyojuro was pulled into the water, the huge crescent blade swung by Kokushibo just swept across. If it was a little later, Bai Yu might have pulled half of Ringoku Kyojuro into the water. Akaza was very miserable. He just escaped from Bai Yu's hands and was immediately cut into pieces by Kokushibo's attack. More trees around were also cut into pieces by the dense giant crescent blades, and the leaves flying in the sky were also torn into powder by those dense curved blades. Everything around was destroyed by Kokushibo's attack. Although Kokushibo looked at Bai Yu in disbelief when he dived into the ground at the moment of the attack, Kokushibo did not choose to withdraw his moves immediately, but swung more angrily, because Kokushibo knew that Bai Yu might have run away. Kokushibo thought that he could at least get rid of Ringoku Kyojuro, but he didn't expect that Ringoku Kyojuro also went underground. At this time, Kokushibo's eyes were filled with anger, endless anger. This was the first time Kokushibo had encountered such a situation. What Bai Yu showed was no longer something a normal human could do. Now Kokushibo began to understand what Akaza had said before. This kid was indeed very strange, and could not be treated with common sense. After a while, Kokushibo's attack stopped, but the surrounding environment had been destroyed beyond recognition, and it could be described as barren. Even the lake's surface was violently churning because of Kokushibo's attack. The large amount of water splashed into the air after being hit by the curved blades was also chopped into extremely small water droplets by the dense curved blades after flying. This area seemed to be raining. Chapter 383 The Wounded Bai Yu. After Rengoku Kaijiro was pulled into the water of the stealth space by Bai Yu, he thought he was in danger and struggled desperately. Bai Yu immediately used telekinesis to control Rengoku Kaijiro tightly, swam in front of Rengoku Kaijiro, and made a quiet gesture to him. After seeing Bai Yu, Rengoku Kaijiro nodded, stopped struggling, and calmed down. Then, Bai Yu pulled Rengoku Kaijiro and swam quickly in one direction. On the other side, Akaza's chopped body gathered again, and then looked at Kokushibo and asked tentatively, "What should we do next?" In fact, Akaza already knew that Bai Yu escaped through unconventional means, and there was basically no possibility of chasing him. Kokushibo also knew this, so he was extremely angry. As the leader of the 12 demon moons, how could he let the target escape? But this time, Bai Yu and Rengoku Kaijiro did escape. When Kokushibo heard Akaza's question, he did not attack Akaza. If he blamed Akaza at this time, it would be a disguised slap in his face. Because Kokushibo did not have any advantage in the duel with Bai Yu, but was suppressed by Bai Yu. No need. That kid is really weird, so it's better to take a long-term view. Kokushibo said, and his face showed disgust. That's good. Because it will be dawn in a while, and it is really not suitable for a long battle. Akaza also echoed Kokushibo's words, which was considered to be a way out for Kokushibo. Kokushibo nodded in agreement, and then said to Akaza, "Let's go. Should we notify the lower moon too? He is the only one left among the lower moons. If he dies, there will be no lower moon in the 12 demon moons, so we can just change the name to Upper Moon Demon Moon." Akaza asked Kokushibo with a hint of sarcasm. Although the upper and lower moons belong to the same 12 demon moons, Akaza doesn't like the lower moons in his heart because the lower moons are weak and the personnel change frequently, so the lower moon demons have no status in front of the upper moon demons. No need, that rubbish hasn't come back for so long. It's obvious that he can't come back. Kokushibo seemed to have anticipated the end of the lower moon too, and said lightly. After that, Kokushibo ignored Akaza and left first. Akaza saw Kokushibo disappear from his sight and followed him. Bai Yu, on the other hand, dragged Rengoku Kaijiro and sneaked underground for a long time. When Rengoku Kaijiro finally couldn't hold his breath anymore, Bai Yu brought Rengoku Kaijiro back to the ground. As soon as he returned to the ground, Bai Yu immediately lifted the ghost transformation. As soon as the ghost transformation was lifted, Bai Yu fell to the ground with exhaustion and coughed up blood. This was the first time that Bai Yu used the ghost transformation to fight such a fierce battle. Even with the body of a ghost, Bai Yu's body was still hurt. So as soon as the ghost transformation was lifted, Bai Yu quickly felt the injury on his body. Rengoku Kaijiro gasped for breath. Seeing Bai Yu suddenly fall to the ground, he became a little anxious. He immediately straightened Bai Yu's body and asked, "Brother Bai Yu, are you okay?" Chapter 384 Purgatory Kaijiro's Doubts. Rengoku Kaijiro thought of Bai Yu's previous resistance to Kokushibo's slash and thought that Bai Yu was seriously injured, and his heart suddenly became more anxious. But in fact, Bai Yu's injuries were not fatal, nor were they too serious, but they just needed some time to buffer. Bai Yu shook his head and said, "It's okay, I won't die." After saying that, Bai Yu had already started to use the breath of wood to heal his injuries, and at the same time, the broadcast of the superdimensional system also sounded in Bai Yu's mind. The mission of saving Rengoku Kaijiro is completed, the mission reward has been issued, and the host has obtained the Breath of Flame, the final secret, and obtained the Breath of Flame move. The broadcast of the completion of the mission sounded, which also indirectly indicated that it must be safe now. Bai Yu slowed down, then stood up again, and said to Rengoku Kaijiro, "Let's go. Let's find Nezuko and the others first, and then meet up with Tanjiro." Because Bai Yu was injured, Rengoku Kaijiro did not disturb Bai Yu just now, but was carefully alert to the surroundings. Seeing that Bai Yu was able to stand up, Rengoku Kaijiro asked back, "Are you okay? Don't force yourself if you are injured." It's okay. Let's go. Bai Yu said affirmatively. So the two of them searched for Inosuke and his group in the woods. Rengoku Kaijiro felt that Bai Yu's breath was very stable, so he knew that Bai Yu should be fine. So he started talking to Bai Yu. Brother Bai Yu, what happened to you just now? You are not a monster in disguise, right? Bai Yu was not surprised that Rengoku Kaijiro asked this, because this is something a normal person would ask if they encountered it. Immediately, Bai Yu replied, this is more difficult to explain. You can understand it as a kind of enhanced combat state that can increase my defense and combat power. Hearing this, Rengoku Kaijiro knew that things were definitely not as simple as Bai Yu said, so he asked again, Brother Bai Yu, why do I feel that the ability you just used is very similar to the ability of a ghost? I have also encountered a ghost that can sneak into the ground or wall before. In fact, Rengoku Kaijiro asked this because he felt that Bai Yu was a ghost, not a human, and a very special ghost who was not afraid of sunlight and did not eat people. Thinking this way, it can explain why Bai Yu protected Nezuko, who became a ghost, so much. Maybe Bai Yu felt that Nezuko and himself were different from other ghosts of the same kind because they were rare, so Bai Yu would protect Nezuko so morbidly. Of course, these were just Rengoku Kaijiro's sudden guesses at the time, and the actual situation was naturally not what he thought. Don't be suspicious, I'm not a ghost, I'm a human. Bai Yu also heard the hidden meaning of Rengoku Kaijiro's words, so he answered with a clear attitude. Seeing that Bai Yu had exposed his true thoughts, Rengoku Kaijiro immediately explained, I don't mean anything else. Even if you are a ghost, I think you are a good ghost. Bai Yu did not dwell on the question of whether he was a ghost, but continued to explain to Rengoku Kaijiro, the abilities you mentioned were all plundered from ghosts. Hearing this, the expression on Rengoku Kaijiro's face became even more puzzled. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 385 Explanation. Let me put it this way. There is a ghost god attached to my body. This ghost god must rely on me to help it suck the ghost's blood to survive. Once there is no ghost's blood to nourish it, I will be tortured to death by the ghost god. And this ghost god will also give me powerful power to help it obtain the ghost's blood, and can also help me plunder the ghost's supernatural powers for my own use. Using the power of the ghost god, my appearance will become its appearance, but the body is still controlled by me, and the ghost god is only responsible for providing power. Bai Yu explained to Rengoku Kaijiro in detail using words that Rengoku Kaijiro could understand. After listening to Bai Yu's explanation, Rengoku Kaijiro suddenly realized it, and at the same time became more curious. He had never heard of the existence of such a special life that actually lived on the blood of ghosts. In this way, isn't it an existence that specifically restrains ghosts? Awesome. Really awesome. Rengoku Kaijiro sighed. As long as Bai Yu was not a man-eating monster, let alone drinking the blood of a demon, even if he ate the flesh and bones of a demon, Rengoku Kaijiro would not feel that Bai Yu had any disgust. So, you protect Nezuko, just so that you can use Nezuko's demon blood to nourish the demons in your body at any time? Rengoku Kaijiro asked again. It's not entirely for this reason. Nezuko is very important. Bai Yu did not explain too much. After that, Rengoku Kaijiro talked to Bai Yu about many other things. During the conversation, the two quickly found Inosuke and the members of the second team of Zangetsu. Judging from the dissipating corpse lying on the ground, Inosuke and the others should have just finished the battle not long ago. Both Sakata Ichiro and Inao Kenta were seriously injured, with bruises on their faces and noses. Inao Kenta's glasses had been blown out. The brothers Shinichi and Shinji were taking care of them. One of Inosuke's arms was hanging in front of him. Hattori Kyujo seemed to want to help Inosuke fix his broken arm, but was rejected by the stubborn Inosuke. Go away, it's just a minor injury. Inosuke drove away Hattori Kyujo, who wanted to fix his arm like a plague god. The reason why Hattori Kyujo cared so much about Inosuke was because Inosuke helped her block the fatal blow of the lower string too, and his arm was injured. The bones in your arm must be broken. It's better to fix it. Otherwise, it will affect the function of your arm in the future. Hattori Kyujo was not angry because of Inosuke's driving him away. The reason why Inosuke didn't want to fix his severely fractured arm was because it would make him look like a person who needed to be taken care of, and Inosuke didn't like to be taken care of, because Inosuke felt that strong people were like Bai Yu, who never needed to be taken care of, but took care of others. After seeing Shiraha and Rengoku Kyojuro, Inosuke dragged his uncontrollable arm to the two. Brother Shiraha. Brother Rengoku. Have you guys dealt with them all? My team and I have dealt with them all. Inosuke told Shiraha and Rengoku Kyojuro the news of his victory. Look. That guy's body is still lying there. As he spoke, Inosuke pointed at the dissipating body of the lower moon too, fearing that Shiraha and Rengoku Kyojuro would not see it, and would not be able to see it later. Chapter 386. Inosuke is injured for Kyujo. Bai Yu looked in the direction pointed by Inosuke, then walked to the body of the lower string too, and then took out Yoshiro's blood collection tool to collect the blood of the lower string too. The blood of the lower string 1 had been collected by Bai Yu on the train. Because the lower string 1 was integrated with the train, the carriage was full of tumors that could devour people, which made Bai Yu's collection work extremely convenient. He collected the blood of the lower string 1 without any effort, together with the blood of the lower string 2 and the blood that had been collected and handed over to the courier cat. The blood of all the lower string demons in the 12 demon months had been collected by Bai Yu. As long as the blood of the upper string demons was collected, Tameo's mission would be completed. However, the blood of the upper string demons might not be so easy to collect. From this first contact alone, Bai Yu could already feel that the upper string demons were different from the lower string demons in strength. Even if the demonization was activated, it could not be completely crushed. Even if the upper string demons really couldn't beat him, there was definitely a chance to escape. After putting the blood collection tool back in his arms, Bai Yu came to Inosuke again and said to Inosuke, "Inosuke, if you don't want this arm to be disabled, let Kyujo help you deal with it." Hearing this, Inosuke was also frightened by Bai Yu's words, and then said in panic, "Brother Bai Yu, don't scare me. Will it really be like that?" Inosuke is not afraid of pain, but the consequences of pain. If one arm becomes disabled, then Inosuke can't use the double blade flow, but can only use the one blade flow. The scapula and clavicle are severely fractured, several nearby ribs are broken, and the forearm bone is also fractured. Bai Yu quickly touched Inosuke's injured arm, and then lightly told Inosuke's injuries. In fact, Bai Yu also admires Inosuke. This kind of injury, if it was someone else, they would have been in unbearable pain, but Inosuke was like nothing happened. Except that the injured arm could no longer move, he was still able to move freely. You can't fight anymore now, because that will cause your bones to be dislocated, and in serious cases, the bones will pierce your abdomen. Bai Yu continued to say to Inosuke. Hattori Kyujo didn't expect Inosuke's injury to be so serious, so he felt even more guilty. Awesome. Brother Bai Yu, you can analyze the injury so accurately. Rengoku Kyojuro praised Bai Yu again at this time. You're flattering. It's just a little bit of fur I learned from a little girl in the butterfly house. Bai Yu replied. The little girl Bai Yu was talking about was not Kanzaki Aoi, but Kocho Shinobu. During the time he lived in the butterfly house, Bai Yu also learned a lot from Kocho Shinobu, and Kanzaki Aoi's skills were probably learned from Kocho Shinobu. For this kind of fracture injury, Bai Yu's essence did not heal it immediately, and Inosuke had not yet been repositioned, so now was not the time to treat him, otherwise it would easily cause Inosuke's bones to grow crooked. After hearing what Bai Yu said, Inosuke immediately took the initiative to say to Hattori Kyujo, "Hurry up. Help me deal with this arm, I don't want my arm to become disabled." Inosuke's attitude suddenly turned 180 degrees, which made Hattori Kyujo stunned for a moment, and then he began to temporarily fix Inosuke's arm. Chapter 387 Enemy. Afterwards, Bai Yu went to check the injuries of Sakata Seiichiro and Inao Kenta. In addition to skin injuries, the two also had internal injuries of varying degrees, and fractures on their bodies. The fractured areas were concentrated on the forearms of both hands and the position of the heart on the left chest. Obviously, the attack of the lower string 2 was also extremely deadly. If the two had not blocked it with their arms, if the attack had landed directly on the left chest, the two would probably have died on the spot. Even if they blocked it with both hands, it would have been enough for the two. Bai Yu first used the essence of wood to regulate the bodies of the two, so that their breath could be smoother. Once the breath was smooth, the two coughed out a mouthful of blood that was blocked in their chests. After doing this, Bai Yu said to the brothers Shinichi and Shinji, "Carry them on your backs, let's leave quickly." "Yes, Senior Bai Yu." The brothers also replied to Bai Yu very respectfully. During the whole process, Rengoku Kaijiro was watching from the side. Rengoku Kaijiro could feel that Bai Yu's breathing was special at the time, and Bai Yu was still emitting a strong breath of life. The more he got to know Bai Yu, the more Rengoku Kaijiro felt that Bai Yu was becoming more and more mysterious and powerful. Recalling the game with Kokushibo, if Bai Yu had not arrived at that time, Rengoku Kaijiro knew that he would have an 80% chance of dying at the hands of Kokushibo. Immediately, the group simply reorganized and left the woods. On the way, Inosuke couldn't help but curiously asked Rengoku Kaijiro, "Brother Rengoku, after I left, did you kill the ghost with 6 eyes? Because Kokushibo almost killed Inosuke in seconds. Kokushibo has now become the ghost that Inosuke wants to defeat very much. No, upper string ghost is not easy to deal with. Even the pillar can't be defeated by himself." Exclamation mark. What's more, the one who ambushed you is the most powerful upper string among the 12 demon moons. The pillars it killed are definitely enough for 10 fingers. Rengoku Kaijiro also told the truth without any reservations, and he was not afraid that his image would be affected by his words. Hearing this, Inosuke became even more excited, and then said, "Great. Next time I will have a chance to defeat that 6-eyed monster." On the contrary, the others were all scared when they heard Rengoku Kaijiro's words. No wonder Rengoku Kaijiro was so determined to let them retreat. Because the pillars are at the top of the pyramid in the minds of these team members, they never thought that a ghost could kill them. If you have ambition, you can do it. But not now. Rengoku Kaijiro also encouraged Inosuke, who was very ambitious. At this time, Murata Shinichi asked curiously, "Lord Rengoku, since the upper rank demon is so powerful, is it impossible to defeat him?" "That's not the case. It's just that it's difficult to defeat him in a one-on-one situation, because the upper rank demon has a stronger regenerative recovery ability. Even if it is cut, it will recover immediately. And as a human body, the pillar will be affected by the injury once injured, and its combat effectiveness will plummet. This is the real reason why the pillar died at the hands of the upper rank demon. Because demons are not afraid of pain, but humans can't. So if you want to defeat the upper rank demon, you can only have the advantage by numbers." Chapter 388, The Long Lost Sunshine. Rengoku Kaijiro then explained it to Murata Shinichi. After listening to Rengoku Kaijiro's explanation, Murata Shinichi also thought it made a lot of sense. The strength of the ghost came more from its strong ability to recover and regenerate. If this ability was taken away, it would not be so scary. In this case, as long as the ghost was injured first, even if it didn't die, it could be easily beheaded with the Nichiren sword. At worst, both sides could be injured. However, it was impossible to injure the ghost now, and it could only be killed with one blow. Immediately, Murata Shinichi couldn't help but look at Bai Yu, and then asked carefully, "Senior Bai Yu, is the ghost you dealt with an upper string demon?" Seeing that Murata Shinichi was gossiping, Bai Yu knew what he wanted to ask, so he nodded and said, "The upper string demon, ranked 3rd, is proficient in fighting and physical skills, and is very powerful." Seeing Bai Yu introducing and praising Akaza, Murata Shinichi gritted his teeth and seemed to be struggling whether to ask directly. Bai Yu continued, "It was not killed by me." Murata Shinichi did not hear the expected answer, because Bai Yu's status in his mind was already higher than that of the pillar, so Murata Shinichi still hoped to hear from Bai Yu that Akaza had been killed. Hattori Kyujo was not surprised by Bai Yu's answer. It was already remarkable that Bai Yu could get away calmly without being injured. In Hattori Kyujo's view, Akaza at least did not take advantage of Bai Yu. Senior Bai Yu, Lord Rengoku. Why didn't these two upper rank demons continue to harass you? Murata Shinji, the younger brother of Murata Shinichi, immediately took over the conversation from his brother and asked the question in his heart. According to common sense, since there was no winner, even if Bai Yu and Rengoku Kyojuro chose to avoid the battle and retreat, it was more or less abnormal that the upper rank demons did not pursue them. Maybe they are also afraid of senior Bai Yu and Lord Rengoku. Murata Shinichi took the opportunity to flatter Bai Yu and Rengoku Kyojuro. I don't know if they are afraid or not, but they really don't dare to continue to harass you. Bai Yu took over Murata Shinichi's words and said, "That's right. That's right." Murata Shinichi immediately echoed. At this time, Hattori Kyujo looked at the sky, which was gradually getting brighter, and then interrupted. "It's time. It's about to get light. That's why they dare not continue to entangle. Because once the sun rises, they will have no chance to retreat. That's right. The sun is their biggest enemy." Rengoku Kyojuro also took over Hattori Kyujo's words. Hearing this, Murata Shinji reacted. Because he had been in an extremely fierce battle, Murata Shinji had lost the sense of time. Now that he said this, Shinji realized that he had been fighting for so long. Afterwards, Bai Yu and his party returned to the accident site where the train derailed and overturned. The sky became brighter and brighter because there were injured people, and they didn't know where Tanjiro and Zenitsu had transferred the passengers on the train. Bai Yu decided to let Rengoku Kyojuro and Inosuke stay here first and go to find Tanjiro and Zenitsu alone. However, this task was eventually snatched away by Rengoku Kyojuro, and Bai Yu and Inosuke stayed. As time went by, the sky became brighter and the morning sun shone from the distant mountain ridges. The morning sun was not strong, but it was very warm. At this time, Bai Yu was truly relieved. If Kokushibo and Akaza had chosen to pursue at that time, Bai Yu would not have had much energy left to continue to maintain his demonic transformation. Chapter 389 Aftermath 1. In addition to Bai Yu, the appearance of the sun also made others more relaxed. Among them, the most obvious one was Murata Shinichi. He was completely relaxed, and then he sighed sincerely. The sun is finally out. Now even if Muzan appears, there is no need to be afraid. However, no one around paid attention to Murata Shinichi's words, and the atmosphere suddenly became a little depressed, which made Murata Shinichi remain silent awkwardly. At this time, Bai Yu heard a very clear sound of a train running fast on the rails in the distance. Bai Yu immediately looked at the end of the rails that extended far away. Others also heard the sound of the train running on the rails and looked over. On the rails in the distance, a train was heading towards the accident site. Everyone thought that this train was from another train, and they didn't know whether the driver on the train could find that an accident had occurred in front. If it is not discovered in time, it is very likely to cause a secondary accident, and the two trains will collide with each other. Although everyone on the overturned train has been evacuated, there must be someone on the other train that is coming over now. If a collision occurs, the people on the other train carrying people will definitely be injured. However, fortunately it was not at night, otherwise it would be difficult to find it in time with the visibility at night. Even so, Bai Yu was still a little worried, so he immediately said to Shinichi and Shinji, "Take Seiichiro and Kenta to a place farther away from the tracks. You two. I'll go and signal the approaching train to stop." Immediately, Bai Yu looked at Inosuke and Hattori Kyujo and said. Hearing this, the two brothers did not ask any more questions, and soon carried the injured Seiichiro and Kenta to a place farther away from the tracks. Inosuke and Hattori Kyujo also moved away from the tracks, while Bai Yu ran to the tracks and waved desperately at the train. As the train approached, Bai Yu heard the sound of the train brakes, and then the speed of the train slowed down little by little, and finally stopped in front of Bai Yu. As soon as the train stopped, Bai Yu saw many people getting off the carriage, and they were people he was very familiar with. They were all members of the Demon Slayer Corps Hidden Division. After one of them got off the train, he immediately ran to Bai Yu, bowed respectfully to Bai Yu, and said, "Master Bai Yu, we are late." Obviously, this person should be the leader of the Hidden Division. Bai Yu nodded to him, and then simply asked about the situation. It turned out that the Hidden Division was sent by the headquarters to deal with the aftermath. Seeing this situation, Bai Yu had to admire the powerful power of the Demon Slayer Corps in society. They even specially chartered a train to come here. Although this mission did not cause very serious casualties like the Nada Spider Mountain, the situation caused was not small. The whole train had a serious rollover accident, causing major property losses. The consequences of the accident were naturally handled by the Demon Slayer Corps. Fortunately, the accident did not cause any casualties to innocent people. The situation of the crew was reported very accurately. Almost not long after the train overturned, the information was transmitted to the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters. The headquarters immediately dispatched the hidden department to rush to the scene of the incident to meet with Bai Yu and his group, properly handle the impact of the accident, and minimize the situation. Chapter 390 Aftermath 2. Bai Yu immediately explained the situation here to the leading hidden team member. After hearing that there were no deaths, the leading hidden team member was shocked and delighted. For those of them who do logistics, they have seen too many dead and injured people. Basically, every time they go out on duty, they have to bury the dead. After that, the people in the hidden department began to get busy and complete their work here. The injured Inosuke, Seiichiro and Kenta were further treated by the hidden team members. The other hidden team members used the tools in their hands to clear the derailed and overturned train out of the rails. This is a relatively huge project. The most difficult part to move is the locomotive, which is the heaviest part of the train. It is definitely impossible to move it by manpower alone, and tools must be used. During this process, Rengoku Kaijiro returned to the accident site again. After seeing the hidden department, he naturally knew the situation in his heart, so he didn't ask Bai Yu anything more. After that, Rengoku Kaijiro called several members of the hidden team who were carrying medical kits to follow him to treat Tanjiro and the passengers who were slightly injured. Tanjiro and Zenitsu, my wife, took the passengers on the train to a village 5 kilometers away from the accident site. Bai Yu, Inosuke, Hattori Kyujo and others also planned to go to that village to rest temporarily, so they left with Rengoku Kaijiro. Because it was daytime, Bai Yu didn't have to worry about the safety of these hidden team members. After arriving at the village, Bai Yu saw hundreds of people gathered in an open space outside the village, and there were villagers watching this rare spectacle on the open space. Because these villagers really had never seen so many outsiders appear in the village at once, and the number of passengers who survived on these trains was more than the total population of the entire village. If these people were not dressed very decently, some were dressed in Western clothes, and there were children, the villagers would have thought that bandits had entered the village. When Tanjiro first brought these hundreds of survivors to the village, he must have alarmed the villagers. However, after Tanjiro's explanation, the villagers were relieved and felt pity for their experience. After that, the hidden team members began to treat the wounds of those who were injured one by one and check the bodies of those who were unwell. The whole process lasted for about an hour. After the hidden team members were busy, Rengoku Kaijiro took the survivors out of the village again. Now the first thing to be settled is these innocent passengers. Rengoku Kaijiro plans to use the brand new train to send these passengers to their destination Infinite City. And Bai Yu, Tanjiro, Agatsuma Zenitsu, Inosuke and Hattori Kyujo stayed in the village temporarily to rest and wait until everything was settled, and then follow the large army back to the headquarters. Bai Yu gave the village chief a sum of money and then asked him to arrange a room for himself and his party. After the village chief took the money, he also temporarily settled Bai Yu in his home and prepared a clean room for Bai Yu. Compared with the passengers on the train, Bai Yu and his group felt more mysterious to the village chief, and the village chief also felt that Bai Yu and his group were very remarkable people. Chapter 391 A Group Conversation. After the village chief brought Bai Yu and his party to the prepared room, he left without asking too many questions or disturbing them. Bai Yu first used the wood essence to help Tanjiro speed up the healing of the knife wound in his lower abdomen. After more than 10 minutes, Tanjiro's wound had healed significantly. Even though he still can't do strenuous exercise, it no longer affects his normal activities. Senior Bai Yu, did you kill the upper 3? Tanjiro asked curiously after Bai Yu helped him heal his wound. No, it's hard to tell who's the winner for now. Bai Yu replied indifferently. At this time, Inosuke said to Tanjiro with some pride, "Tanjiro, I met the head of the upper string. That guy has 6 eyes and is very powerful." Hearing this, Tanjiro also became interested and then asked, "Are there 2 upper string demons this time?" "Inosuke, your arm was not injured by the head of the upper string." At this time, Murata Shinichi suddenly interrupted, "Tanjiro, you think too simply of the upper string demon. If it was done by the head of the upper string, it would not be as simple as being injured. I guess this hand would be directly lost. In serious cases, it is estimated that he died on the spot. Inosuke's injury was caused by the second lower string." Murata Shinichi immediately added. At this time, Hattori Kyujo said with some guilt, "It's my fault. Inosuke helped me block the attack in order to prevent me from getting hurt." Hattori Kyujo and Inosuke are both straightforward and never beat around the bush when speaking. When Zenitsu Agatsuma heard what Kyujo Hattori said, he immediately came to Inosuke, bumped his shoulder against Inosuke, and finally said, "Inosuke, great. Now you have learned how to be a hero to save the beauty. You don't like Kyujo, do you? Your head can only accommodate women. I'm teamwork. I learned this from Tanjiro." Inosuke also teased Zenitsu Agatsuma. Not long ago, when he was doing recovery training at the butterfly house, Inosuke already knew how crazy Zenitsu Agatsuma was about women. So Inosuke said that Zenitsu Agatsuma's head could only accommodate women's words. Even if Inosuke was telling the truth, Zenitsu Agatsuma still didn't believe Inosuke, and still felt that Inosuke must be interested in Hattori Kyujo. "Inosuke, tell me the whole story." Tanjiro brought the topic back. Tanjiro didn't care as much about this kind of man-woman thing as Zenitsu Agatsuma. Even if Zenitsu Agatsuma was telling the truth, it was Inosuke and Kyujo Hattori's business. Afterwards, Inosuke told Tanjiro the general story, and Murata Shinichi supplemented it on the side. Combining the two people's stories, Tanjiro also knew the course of events. Tanjiro didn't expect that the lower moon 2 was just a bait, the purpose of which was to lure Inosuke and the others. If it wasn't for Agatsuma Zenitsu who stopped Tanjiro at that time, Tanjiro would definitely chase after him with Inosuke. However, Tanjiro was also glad that he didn't go. The reason why Tanjiro was glad was not because he avoided the danger, but because he was glad that he listened to Zenitsu and saved the lives of more than 200 people. "Senior Bai Yu, do you feel that we seem to be targeted?" At this time, Tanjiro asked Bai Yu again. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 392, Improper Zenitsu. Hearing this, Bai Yu nodded and then said, "It's not like, but we have been targeted by Muzan Kibutsuji. This time, Muzan Kibutsuji sent 2 upper string demons to ambush. Obviously he is determined to kill us. Fortunately, you were injured, so you didn't chase after Inosuke. Otherwise the head of the upper string would definitely ignore all the obstructions of Rengoku Kyojuro and kill you first." Because this situation did not happen, Bai Yu was not sure whether Rengoku Kyojuro could protect Tanjiro under the premise that Kokushibo's purpose was extremely clear. After all, it has become a fact that Rengoku Kyojuro is no match for Kokushibo in Bai Yu's place, otherwise there would be no system task to save Rengoku Kyojuro. However, for himself, Bai Yu has full confidence in protecting Tanjiro in front of Kokushibo. After listening to Bai Yu's words, Tanjiro realized that this ambush was aimed at himself, and the others were just incidental sacrifices. Fortunately, things did not happen as they expected. It is worth being happy that everyone is alive and well. Although some people were injured, it is already a very perfect result. When Murata Shinichi heard that Bai Yu and Tanjiro were targeted by the ruler of Demon, Muzan Kibutsuji, he could not help but become very interested and asked, "Senior Bai Yu, excuse me, why are you and Tanjiro targeted by Muzan Kibutsuji?" "I think it must be because Senior Bai Yu stole Muzan Kibutsuji's woman, so you were targeted." Agatsuma Zenitsu gave an unreliable answer at this time. Of course, Agatsuma Zenitsu said it was just a joke, in order to liven up the somewhat dull atmosphere in the room. Hearing this, Bai Yu thought about it and replied, maybe it was because Tanjiro ran into Muzan Kibutsuji mixed in the crowd when he was in Asakusa Tokyo Prefecture and threatened to kill him. In fact, Bai Yu knew the real reason, but there was no need to say it. Bai Yu's words made everyone's eyes focus on Tanjiro. Of course, they didn't know about this. Tanjiro had seen Muzan Kibutsuji. How lucky was he to meet him? The Demon Slayer Corps had been looking for Muzan Kibutsuji for hundreds of years, but couldn't find any trace of him. Tanjiro actually met Muzan Kibutsuji, and Tanjiro threatened to kill Muzan Kibutsuji in public. Murata Shinichi had to admire Tanjiro's courage at that time. If it were him, if he knew that the legendary Demon King was standing in front of him, he would have been scared to death. Tanjiro, does that guy look scary? How many eyes does he have? Inosuke also asked Tanjiro with interest. Yes. Tanjiro, tell us what the legendary Demon King looks like. Murata Shinji was also curious about Muzan Kibutsuji's appearance. Hattori Kyujo didn't say anything, but he also looked at Tanjiro with great interest, as if waiting for his answer. At this time, Agatsuma Zenitsu said something very indecent. Tanjiro, is Muzan Kibutsuji a man or a woman? Seeing that Zenitsu was so obsessed with beauty that he didn't even let go of the ghost, Murata Shinichi gave Agatsuma Zenitsu a thumbs up and said, Zenitsu, you are a fighter among men. You even dare to think about the ghost. Chapter 393. Maybe people like you. Don't get me wrong, I'm just asking. Agatsuma Zenitsu explained immediately. It was not the first time that Tanjiro had seen Agatsuma Zenitsu's impropriety, so Tanjiro did not care too much, but said, Zenitsu, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Muzan Kibutsuji is a man, not the beauty you want. Hearing this, Agatsuma Zenitsu immediately lost interest. Muzan Kibutsuji is actually not scary, and he doesn't have many eyes, but looks like a normal human being. There is nothing special about his appearance, a typical rich boy dressed in a very modern Western style, and you can tell at a glance that he is from a very wealthy family. Tanjiro then described Muzan Kibutsuji's appearance. After listening to Tanjiro's bland story, the surroundings were calm. That should just be a disguise of Muzan Kibutsuji. With his ability, I believe he can transform into anything he wants. This may be the reason why the Demon Slayer Corps has always found it difficult to track him down. Bai Yu said, then turned his gaze to Agatsuma Zenitsu, and said, so, Zenitsu, next time you see Muzan Kibutsuji, you can ask him to transform into a peerless beauty for you to see. Hearing this, Agatsuma Zenitsu quickly waved his hands and refused. Forget it. I just find this kind of androgynous thing disgusting. Murata Shinichi was immediately amused, holding his stomach and laughing, then continued with Agatsuma Zenitsu's words, don't. Maybe Muzan Kibutsuji likes you like this. For you, he is willing to be your woman. Murata Shinichi was naturally teasing Agatsuma Zenitsu, and he was also teasing Muzan Kibutsuji at the same time. With Murata Shinichi's ability, Muzan Kibutsuji could not be dealt with, but Shinichi Murata could still tease him privately, and even greet his whole family. After all, no matter how powerful Muzan Kibutsuji was, he could not know that Shinichi Murata was speaking ill of him behind his back. Shinichi Murata laughed for a long time, and then found that he was the only one laughing, so he immediately became a little embarrassed, and the laughter stopped abruptly. Isn't it funny? Shinichi Murata glanced at Bai Yu, Tanjiro, Inosuke, and finally looked at his younger brother. Bai Yu's laughter point was naturally not that low. When Shinichi Murata joked about Agatsuma Zenitsu, Bai Yu only showed a faint smile. This smile was usually smiled by Bai Yu when he was relaxed, so Shinichi Murata didn't know whether Bai Yu was amused by his words. As for Tanjiro and Inosuke, who were indifferent to the relationship between men and women, it was naturally impossible for them to be amused by Shinichi Murata's words. Agatsuma Zenitsu was the one being teased, so of course he couldn't laugh, as that would be making fun of himself. Hattori Kyujo was a girl, and she was extremely upright, and had very upright thoughts, so she was naturally immune to Murata Shinichi's words. Sakata Seiichiro and Inao Kenta were beaten so badly that they couldn't laugh, even if they wanted to. In the end, Murata Shinichi could only look at his younger brother, hoping that his younger brother would cooperate with him. However, Murata Shinji only asked back lightly, "What's so funny?" Seeing this, Murata Shinichi could only scratch his head awkwardly and remain silent. Senior Shiraha, can't Muzan Kibutsuji become the appearance of any of us? Tanjiro then brought the topic back to the point. Chapter 394 A Turn. After Tanjiro asked this, the others were also very concerned about this issue. Theoretically, it should be possible, but it's useless, because no matter how Muzan's appearance changes, his breath cannot be changed or hidden. The master of demon, like Muzan must have a very strong smell on his body, which is why you, Tanjiro, can find him in the dense crowd. Bai Yu also analyzed the question raised by Tanjiro with his own understanding. Tanjiro listened to Bai Yu's words and felt that it made sense. After that, Bai Yu and his party talked about many things in this atmosphere, until it was almost time for lunch. Rengoku Kaijiro returned to the village and reunited with Bai Yu. Because the village chief took Bai Yu's money, he specially prepared a simple lunch for Bai Yu and others, which were all simple sushi rice bowls and a bowl of hot soup for each person. Everyone did not expect that the village chief would specially prepare lunch, so they all expressed their gratitude to the village chief. Because of their injuries, Seiichiro Sakata and Kenta now could only eat liquid food, so Bai Yu asked the village chief to prepare 2 bowls of porridge. The task of feeding Seiichiro and Kenta was given to the brothers Shinichi and Shinji, because apart from the injured Seiichiro and Kenta, in terms of strength ranking, they were the last 2 brothers, so this kind of thing could only be left to them. During lunch, Tanjiro and Bai Yu asked Rengoku Kaijiro about the aftermath of the hidden department. According to Rengoku Kaijiro's story, after the overturned train was cleared from the tracks, the innocent passengers who were implicated had already squeezed into another train with the members of the hidden department to the Infinite City. The hidden department will take a special train back again tomorrow morning and will stop at the nearby tracks halfway to wait for Rengoku Kaijiro and Bai Yu to get on the train. According to the plan, Rengoku Kaijiro and Bai Yu left the village early the next morning and came to the accident site 5 kilometers away yesterday. The train was already waiting there. Without much hesitation, Rengoku Kaijiro and Shiraha boarded the train. When they returned to the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters, it was already late at night and early in the morning. The mountain was very quiet. This kind of quietness was the kind of peaceful quietness, not the kind of quietness that concealed a crisis. The flame pillar took Tanjiro back to his residence. Because Tanjiro was now Rengoku Kaijiro's stepson, it was understandable that he lived with Rengoku Kaijiro. Shiraha had no objection, but just asked for Nezuko. Tanjiro knew that Shiraha was going to eat demon blood, so he handed Nezuko to Shiraha. Zenitsu Agatsuma and Inosuke were in a 3-way relationship with Tanjiro, so when they saw that Tanjiro was no longer living in the butterfly house but went to live with Rengoku Kaijiro, a grown man, they naturally had a lot of objections in their hearts, but Inosuke also moved in, which forced Zenitsu Agatsuma to move in with him. Fortunately, the butterfly house is not far from the purgatory pavilion of Rengoku Kaijiro, and Agatsuma's Zenitsu can still come to the butterfly house to meet the 3 girls, King, Zayana-Cheng, and Zayanaho, when he is free. Otherwise, Agatsuma's Zenitsu would never move to the purgatory pavilion. Bai Yu will naturally not move to the purgatory pavilion, and those who understand will naturally understand the reason. Chapter 395 Kanzaki Aoi's concerns. As for the other members of the second team of Zangetsu, they followed Bai Yu back to the butterfly house. There was a courtyard in the butterfly house that was specifically used by Zangetsu. Bai Yu had trained the members of the Zangetsu team in that courtyard. Although Hattori Kyujo and her group all lived in the butterfly house with Bai Yu lived with Kocho Shinobu and was not close to the courtyard where the Zangetsu team was located, so this would not interfere with the private lives of Bai Yu and Kocho Shinobu. As soon as he arrived at the gate of the butterfly house, Bai Yu saw Kocho Shinobu, Kanzaki Aoi, Zaya King, Zayana-Cheng, and Kanaho waiting for him outside the door. After seeing Bai Yu, Kocho Shinobu's smile became even brighter, and she waved to Bai Yu, as if welcoming Bai Yu's return. After that, Bai Yu and the members of the second team of Zangetsu came to the front of Kocho Shinobu and his group. "Welcome back safely," Kocho Shinobu said to Bai Yu and the members of the second team of Zangetsu with a smile. Bai Yu curved his lips into a faint smile, nodded to Kocho Shinobu, and said nothing. Hattori Kyujo and Murata brothers immediately respectfully called Kocho Shinobu, "Lord Kocho, Aoi-chan, King, Xianacheng, and Naho, please go and take care of the injured team members first." Kocho Shinobu immediately gave instructions to Kanzaki Aoi and King. "Yes, Lord Kocho." King, Xianacheng and Naho responded immediately, while Kanzaki Aoi looked worried and said nothing. "You two brothers, go and take care of Seiichiro and Kenta, and then go back to the small branch of Zangetsu to rest. As for Kyujo, if there is nothing else, you can go back and rest first, and leave the rest to them brothers." Bai Yu also gave instructions to the second team of Zangetsu. "Yes, Bai Yu senpai." The Murata brothers responded, and followed King, Xianacheng, and Naho into the butterfly house first. Hattori Kyujo looked at Shirahara and Shinobu Kocho again, then walked into the butterfly house. Kanzaki Aoi looked at King, Cheng, and Naho who led the Murata brothers away, then looked at Shirahara, and after much hesitation, asked such a question. "Master Shirahara, where is Tanjiro? Why didn't he come back?" The reason why Kanzaki Aoi was worried was because she didn't see Tanjiro. Because of Tanjiro's farewell, and a more than a month of getting along with each other after resuming training, Kanzaki Aoi had some special feelings for Tanjiro. Especially when she knew that Tanjiro and his team had returned from a mission, and that there were team members injured. Kanzaki Aoi began to worry about Tanjiro. While waiting in the butterfly house with Shinobu Kocho, Kanzaki Aoi kept thinking about it. Was Tanjiro injured again this time? Is the injury serious? If the injury is serious, can they get along for a while like last time? When she saw that Tanjiro was not among the people who came back, Kanzaki Aoi was even more at a loss than when she saw Tanjiro was injured. This made Kanzaki Aoi think that something might have happened to Tanjiro. Did he die in this mission? So, this is why Kanzaki Aoi has been worried. Hearing this, Bai Yu couldn't help but touch Kanzaki Aoi's head and joked, "Aoi-chan has grown up. You have someone you like in your heart." Chapter 396 The Couple's Reunion. Hearing Bai Yu's joke, Kanzaki Aoi became even more flustered, and then shook off Bai Yu's hand on her head, and tried to explain with some stammering, "Don't joke, Lord Bai Yu, I'm just concerned about the team members." Seeing Kanzaki Aoi's panic, Kocho Shinobu couldn't help but cover her face and laugh. "If you care about the team members, you shouldn't just care about Tanjiro. Zenitsu and Inosuke are not here either. Why don't you ask about them?" Bai Yu knew what Kanzaki Aoi was thinking, so he continued to tease. "What about the pervert Zenitsu and the pig-headed Inosuke?" Kanzaki Aoi immediately added, because of Bai Yu's words. "Tanjiro has gone back to his residence with the flame pillar. If you really want to, you can go see him tomorrow. In addition, Zenitsu and Inosuke are also here. Inosuke's arm is injured, and Tanjiro also has a knife wound in the stomach. If you feel that there is no reason to go to Tanjiro, you can use this reason to go there." Bai Yu said to Kanzaki Aoi with a thick smile, and even thought of a reason for Kanzaki Aoi to find Tanjiro. In fact, Bai Yu also intended to match Kanzaki Aoi and Tanjiro. After all, it is a happy thing for a girl to like Tanjiro's honest character. It seems that, because Bai Yu saw through it completely, Kanzaki Aoi could no longer stay at this time, and then found a reason, and left in a panic. "There are still wounded people who need my care. I won't bother you." Before leaving, Kanzaki Aoi also looked at Bai Yu and Kocho Shinobu meaningfully, and seemed to see the relationship between Bai Yu and Kocho Shinobu. After Kanzaki Aoi left, Shinobu Kocho asked Bai Yu with a smile, "Do you think she will go to Tanjiro?" "Of course she will," Bai Yu answered very confidently. "Then why did Tanjiro go to Kyajiro's Purgatory Pavilion? Shouldn't he follow you?" Shinobu Kocho asked curiously and puzzled. "Tanjiro is now Kyajiro's stepson. Kyajiro plans to help Tanjiro develop the Kagami dance breathing in depth. Tanjiro said that the Kagami dance breathing inherited from his father is very powerful, but it cannot be used for a long time. The flame breathing used by Kajiro is also a fire attribute, and it is estimated that it can help Tanjiro. Bai Yu told Shinobu Kocho what he learned from Tanjiro. So, Tanjiro has mastered two breathing methods? That's really amazing. Shinobu Kocho was also quite shocked and exclaimed. After that, Bai Yu and Shinobu Kocho did not continue to stay outside the butterfly house for a long time. Shinobu Kocho took the initiative to hold Bai Yu's arm, then stuck to Bai Yu's body, and finally pulled Bai Yu to walk into the butterfly house. Let's go back and talk slowly. Tell me about this mission. According to the intelligence, the train overturned, and the battle should be very fierce, right? Did you encounter the upper string demon? Shinobu Kocho pulled Bai Yu back to the backyard where the two lived. During the way here, Bai Yu briefly answered Shinobu Kocho's questions and briefly explained what happened. However, Shinobu Kocho did not kill the upper string demon, which was indeed expected by Shinobu Kocho, because Shinobu Kocho knew how powerful the upper string demon was, and her sister was killed by the second ranked upper string demon. After that, Shinobu Kocho and Shinobu Kocho naturally enhanced their relationship. Chapter 397 Zenitsu Soul Questioning. On the other side, Agatsuma Zenitsu, who went back to Rengoku Pavilion with Rengoku Kyojuro, complained unhappily after separating from Bai Yu. Isn't it good to live with those girls in the butterfly house? Why do you have to move in with the flame pillar? Wouldn't that disturb the flame pillar? Zenitsu, it's your honor that you can come and receive my guidance. Only by becoming as strong as me can you attract girls. Rengoku Kyojuro boasted narcissistically, but Rengoku Kyojuro himself is also a bachelor. Hearing this, Agatsuma Zenitsu asked, then, Mr. Rengoku, are you married? Is your wife pretty? Will we disturb you and your wife if we go to your place? Rengoku Kyojuro was a little embarrassed when Agatsuma Zenitsu asked this. If he said no, he would be slapping himself in the face. However, Rengoku Kyojuro is not the kind of person who likes to talk nonsense, so after thinking about it, he told Zenitsu Miyazuma the truth. Not yet, because a ghost hunter is a very dangerous identity. I don't want to make girls sad, so I won't talk about love. Rengoku Kyojuro's answer made Zenitsu Miyazuma look at Rengoku Kyojuro with contempt. If you are single, then you are single. He actually gave such a high-sounding reason for being single. No wonder Tanjiro became Rengoku Kyojuro's stepson. They are not from the same family. Coupled with Inosuke, the emotional idiot, these three people are a perfect match. Zenitsu Miyazuma suddenly felt that he should still hang out with Bai Yu, and he might be able to pick up a girl. But after thinking about it carefully, Zenitsu Miyazuma also felt that what Rengoku Kyojuro said made sense, but Zenitsu Miyazuma did not have the same awareness as Rengoku Kyojuro. Mr. Rengoku, don't you need to leave a descendant for your family? Zenitsu Miyazuma asked again. That's a good question. I have a younger brother at home, so this task can be handed over to him. Rengoku Kyojuro answered immediately. This answer made Zenitsu Agatsuma completely speechless. Doesn't Rengoku Kyojuro know the joy of being a man? However, Zenitsu Agatsuma did not continue to ask more questions, and then the group came to Rengoku Pavilion. Zenitsu Agatsuma stood outside the gate of Rengoku Pavilion, looking at the small mansion in front of him. Compared with Chaya, the grade of Rengoku Pavilion is not a little bit worse. Even the village chief's house where they temporarily stayed is much larger than Rengoku's mansion. Mr. Rengoku, is this where you live? It's too shabby. Zenitsu Agatsuma couldn't help but complain. They are all pillars of the Demon Slayer Corps, and the place where they live is too different from Chaya. Rengoku Kyojuro nodded, and then replied, yes. Although it can't be compared with the butterfly house, it is at least much quieter. Because I'm the only one here, the place is not big, but it is definitely big enough for the three of you to live in. Tanjiro did not feel shabby, but felt very exquisite, just not as big as the butterfly house. After Agatsuma Zenitsu walked in, he realized that, although the place where Rengoku Kyojuro lived was not big, it was definitely very decent. The courtyard, flower pond, courtyard wall, bluestone road, and various flowers and plants planted were indeed very exquisite. The most important thing is that there is an independent small bathhouse and kitchen. In a word, it is small but complete. Chapter 398. Little note. After that, Tanjiro, Agatsuma Zenitsu and Inosuke stayed in Ringoku Pavilion. The next day, Shiraha and Ringoku Kyojiro, under the notice of the Crow, came to the residence of Yubuayashiki Yoshiya, the leader of the Demon Slayer Corps, and gave him a detailed mission report. Yubuayashiki Yoshiya also got a lot of details, and Shiraha also knew about the one of the upper strings, Kokushibo. What surprised Yubuayashiki Yoshiya was that this time Muzan Kibutsuji actually sent out the lower string ghost and the upper string ghost to deal with Shiraha and Tanjiro at the same time. And the two upper string ghosts are the top two. Of course, what surprised Yubuayashiki Yoshiya the most was the appearance of Kokushibo, the first of the upper strings. Kokushibo is the head of the upper strings, and is also a ghost, recorded in the history of the Demon Slayer Corps, because he used to be one of the initial breathing swordsmen of the Demon Slayer Corps, and the brother of Yoriichi Tsujikuni, the creator of the initial breathing sun breathing. If you ask whether Yubuayashiki Yoshiya hates Kokushibo, the answer is definitely that he hates it. If it weren't for Kokushibo's betrayal, Muzan Kibutsuji would have been killed by Yoshikoku Yoshiichi under the Sunblade, and the curse of the Yubuayashiki family would have disappeared. Because the Yubuayashiki family has a blood relationship with Muzan Kibutsuji, 1,000 years ago, after Muzan Kibutsuji became a ghost, the Yubuayashiki family was cursed inexplicably. All the children born in the family were weak and sickly, especially boys, who would die soon. In order to prevent the family's bloodline from being cut off, the Yubuayashiki family followed the advice of the shrine's chief and married the girls of the Jingu clan from generation to generation. Although the lives of their descendants were extended in this way, no descendants of the Yubuayashiki family could live past the age of 30. No one knows how Muzan Kibutsuji became a ghost. This has become something that cannot be investigated. Only Muzan Kibutsuji, the person involved, knows the matter. After Bai Yu and Ringoku Kyojiro finished their mission report, the two left the mansion where Yubuayashiki Yoi lived. During the mission report, Yubuayashiki Kiko secretly slipped a note to Bai Yu while pouring tea for herself. Bai Yu knew that this was something that Yubuayashiki Kiko wanted to convey to herself. After Bai Yu separated from Ringoku Kyojiro, he took out the note alone. The note read, "See you outside the butterfly house at the time of hay in the evening." Looking at the content above, Bai Yu realized that it turned out that Yubuayashiki Kiko was planning to meet with him. It was estimated that she wanted to meet with him. The magic power of the system was really powerful. He just helped Yubuayashiki Kiko out of the siege at that time, and this little girl was completely conquered. Recalling what he said at that time, Bai Yu couldn't help but smile. He was not an irresponsible man. The world of Demon Slayer can have polygamy. It is still in the early stage of modern industry. It's just that Bai Yu didn't know what Kocho Shinobu thought, and whether she would accept it. At about hay in the evening, Bai Yu came to the butterfly house in advance and waited. Bai Yu didn't mean to hide deliberately, but stood outside the butterfly house and waited openly. After a while, Yubuayashiki Kiko came slowly towards the door of the butterfly house with a lantern in her hand. Bai Yu saw Yubuayashiki Kiko in the dark and took the initiative to greet her. She was still wearing the same clothes she wore in Fujikiyama, with two big watery eyes, looking adorable and charming. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 399 Tryst. However, because of the indifferent expression on Yubuayashiki Kiko's face, she looked a bit like a lifeless doll. "I'm here." Bai Yu took the initiative to say to her. Yubuayashiki Kiko nodded, then took Bai Yu's hand and said, "Follow me." As Bai Yu and Yubuayashiki Kiko left, another person came out of the door of the butterfly house. That person was Kocho Shinobu. Kocho Shinobu looked at the two people who left, and then said helplessly, "Who is the main wife?" Then, Bai Yu was pulled by Yubuayashiki Kiko to a very wide and flat back mountainside. Standing there, you can see the brightly lit town in the distance. Looking up at the dark night sky, you can see the stars and the bright moon in the night sky. And on this empty back mountainside, a huge tree sits beside it, which seems to have been there for a very long time. To hemp ropes were tied to a forked branch, and a wooden board was connected to the ropes. It looked like a very simple swing. There were many leaves accumulated on the wooden board. It seemed that no one had used it for a long time. Bai Yu didn't know that there was such a beautiful and secluded place in the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters, and he didn't know why Yubuyasha Kikiko brought him here. Yubuyasha Kikiko walked towards the simple swing hanging under the big tree. Because of her movement, the fireflies in the bushes flew into the sky. The picture suddenly became extremely beautiful. Bai Yu couldn't describe the picture in words. He could only say that it was like a fairyland. Yubuyasha Kikiko came to the front of the swing, first swept the leaves accumulated on the swing with her hands, then blew away the dust on it with her mouth, cleaned the swing a little, and then Yubuyashiki sat on it skillfully, and then swung it gently by herself. Unable to help, a smile appeared on Yubuyasha Kikiko's face. Bai Yu, who came over, was surprised to see Yubuyasha Kikiko smiling on the swing, because Bai Yu had never seen Yubuyasha Kikiko smile. Bai Yu thought that being born in such a background, Yubuyasha Kikiko should be a very special girl who would not smile, but she did not expect that she was actually like an ordinary girl and could smile. Looking at Yubuyasha Kikiko with a smile, Bai Yu felt that she seemed to be full of life and became more charming. At that moment, Bai Yu was really a little dazed and forgot to ask Yubuyasha Kikiko the purpose of bringing him here. At this time, Yubuyasha Kikiko, who was sitting on the swing and swinging slowly, began to speak. This is the place where my father and mother often brought us to play 2 years ago. We were different from other children and did not have much time to play, but this place carries many happy memories. After that, my father's condition worsened, and gradually he needed my sister and I to take care of him all the time. I haven't been here since then. Bai Yu knew that Yubuyasha Kikiko was telling him her true feelings. Bai Yu listened quietly and did not say anything. In addition to Yubuyasha Kikiko's voice, the swing, and the sound of insects around, the rest was Bai Yu's breathing and heartbeat. After speaking, Yubuyasha Kikiko was silent for a while, as if waiting for Bai Yu's reply. Seeing that Bai Yu did not reply to her, Yubuyasha Kikiko turned her head to Bai Yu and looked at him. Chapter 400 Asking for a Kiss. When Bai Yu saw that Yubuyasha Kikiko was looking at him, he was also stunned. He didn't know what Yubuyasha Kikiko meant. After a moment of silence, Bai Yu asked back, "This is a beautiful memory that can make you smile, isn't it? I'm very happy to see your smile. You look better when you smile than ever. The process of life is full of many complex flavors. What we can do is to retain those sweet flavors that can make people smile." At this time, Bai Yu and Yubuyasha Kikiko had a little feeling of a knight and a princess. After listening to Bai Yu's words, Yubuyasha Kikiko nodded. If you are given a chance to choose, would you choose to be an ordinary girl in an ordinary family? Bai Yu then asked this question to Yubuyasha Kikiko. Facing Bai Yu's question, Yubuyasha Kikiko looked up at the starry sky and thought seriously. In fact, she had naturally had this idea. Before I met you, I might have made this choice. But after I met you, you have become my concern, and I will not abandon you. Yubuyasha Kikiko said one sentence at a time, while looking at the stars in the night sky. When she said this, Yubuyasha Kikiko turned her face to Bai Yu again, looked at Bai Yu and said, "Because I think I will be very happy with you." When Yubuyasha Kikiko said this, Bai Yu was very surprised, because except for the time with Fujizishin, Bai Yu did not have more contact with Yubuyasha Kikiko, so Yubuyasha Kikiko's deep obsession with herself surprised Bai Yu. At this moment, Bai Yu felt that Yubuyasha Kikiko was not affected by the system, and Bai Yu believed more that this was the emotion from the heart of Yubuyasha Kikiko. In the face of sincere feelings, Bai Yu couldn't help but show a relieved smile on his face. "I won't abandon you either. You are the woman that I, Bai Yu, must protect in this life." Bai Yu replied affectionately. Yubuyasha Kikiko stopped swinging, stood on the ground again, and then walked in front of Bai Yu, raised her head slightly, turned her face to Bai Yu, and finally closed her eyes slowly. Bai Yu saw Yubuyasha Kikiko's actions and knew that she was asking for a kiss. Bai Yu was not a fool. After thinking for a while, he put his hands on Yubuyasha Kikiko's shoulders, then leaned his face up, and finally kissed her gently. Bai Yu was Yubuyasha Kikiko's first love, so Bai Yu could feel Yubuyasha Kikiko's body trembling slightly, and her breathing tense. Even at that moment, Bai Yu felt Yubuyasha Kikiko's heartbeat. This kiss made Bai Yu know the taste of Yubuyasha Kikiko's mouth, which was very special and completely different from the taste of Kocho Shinobu. After the kiss, Yubuyasha Kikiko's fair face turned red. At this time, her heart had not completely calmed down. It seemed that she was too nervous. Yubuyasha Kikiko was out of breath, as if she loved someone to death. Bai Yu, who sensed that something was wrong with Yubuyasha Kikiko, immediately reached out to her chest and used the breath of wood to relieve her physical discomfort. "Kiko, are you okay?" Bai Yu supported Yubuyasha Kikiko with one hand and used the breath of wood to relieve her physical discomfort with the other hand. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.